Good afternoon, everyone. Today's Tuesday, March 14, 2023. I'd like to call order the regular scheduled meeting, the mayor, for the board and mayor of Alderman. And please join me with Mr. Massey in prayer, followed by Mr. Gentry and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Precious Holy Father, ruler, maker of all things, Father, whether living or non-living. Father, how blessed we are to have you as a father who laid us down last night. And Father, it was you who woke us up this morning. Father, we didn't do it ourselves. Father, it was only done because you allowed it. We want to thank you for that. Father, we want to thank you for this great country. A country like the country that we recognize as America. A country where we can freely and openly worship you without fear of prosecution. Father, I want to thank you for the brave men and women who fight to keep this country safe so that we can exercise those freedoms. Father, I want to thank you for the law enforcement. So when we dial 911, there's someone to respond to that call. And Father, I want to thank you for this meeting and the citizens of Pulaski who elected us to make fair and just decisions. And Father, as we go forward today in this meeting, we pray that we do just that. In the name of the Father and Son, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Massey. Mr. Gentry. All right. Our first item of business is to approve minutes of a regular meeting and the minutes from the strategic planning session. I think you're supposed to. All right. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, we'll stand as approved as moved.
If we could, let's deviate from the agenda right quick. I think Chief wants to introduce a couple of officers.
Yeah, I can.
That's the reason they're here.
It is, but I mean, we can do it anytime, we can do it now. I just, we talked about, a lot of folks didn't know who some of the new employees were or whatever, so I thought I'd start with my newest. It started about 4 weeks ago. Austin Seals here to my far right. He started with us 4 weeks ago, and we're excited to have him. I mean, he had to endure like 3 long interviews with us, didn't he? But he's going to do well. He's born and raised here in Giles County. His daddy runs a barbershop down here in Jackson. And he attended school at Richland, and we're not going to hold that against him. But he was a good athlete there, and he's done well, and he's really excited. He's, like I said, he's his 4th week. He's in field training now. And Jake McCaffrey's one of our field training officers. I'm going to tell you just a little tidbit about him real quick. He's been with us about 6 years. Is that right? About 6 years? 9? Okay. Well, that's my bad. I only timed him out a year ago. It should have been 4 years ago, but we'll try to make that up.
Now, is this the same one that needs a new tire?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna tell you. We go through the process, but that in the process of our field training officers, just like we hire people, we want to make sure that they're good at giving direction, and what better people to give direction that can take direction. Somebody come to me about 3 years ago or so and
It might have
said,
been 4 or 5.
said, Jake, said, did you realize, have you seen the tires on Jake's patrol car? And I said, no, why do I need to? Well, he really needs them bad. And at the time, he was living in Elton, I got to think about it, and I said, well, why hadn't he said anything? He said, well, we don't know. So I thought, well, I don't need him responding to a fire call, emergency traffic or whatever, and have bad tires. So anyway, I called him, very professional on the phone. I said, Jake, I understand you need tires on your car. He goes, yes, sir. I said, have you said anything to anybody? He said, yes, sir. I said, what'd they tell you? He said, sir, they told me to drive it till the wheels fell off. I said, and I sort of had a few choice words. I said, well, who told you that? And he goes, well, you did, sir. I said, look, I don't doubt I didn't say that, but look, there's some things I may be joking about, so I make sure from now on that I clarify if I'm joking with him, I followed up with that. But anyway, make a long story short, we got tires and we done replaced them tires, so we're doing good. But anyway, we're glad to have him. Like I said, he really is a good field training officer, and I think Austin is going to be, he's young, he's 21, but at the end of, you can't hire people my age to do this kind of thing, but I think he's going to really do well and do well for us. It took us a while to pick him. I had this opening for several months and wanted to make sure we vetted that process, and I feel like we've got a very good candidate in him. Been doing
Good.
Yeah.
We're proud to have y'all.
Jake, next time you need some tires, come see me, I'll get you.
We'd love for y'all to stick around after this, we'll get a picture with y'all, if that's all right, we'll welcome our new officer. It'd be good to sit through this, you listen to all this fun stuff. Back on it, approve the minutes for a regular meeting and the minutes from our strategic planning session. If there are no additions or corrections to the minutes, we'll stand as approved as mailed. Okay. Our next item, number 2, is receive and file city recorder and various committee reports.
I move that we receive and file these reports.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Keith and a second by Mr. Massey. All in favor, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next, do we have any concerned citizen remarks regarding agenda items for today? Seeing that there are none, we'll move up to our next on our agenda is number 4. Item number 4 is considering the following parade permits of the Trent Hope 5K for 5/13/23 and UT Southern for 4/26/23. Mr. Harrison.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're both in order, and y'all are very familiar with the Trent Hope 5K, and the UT Southern is in the class celebration, and it is on the 27th day of April from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And that, like as I said, they're both in order.
I move that we approve the parade permits out there.
We have a motion by Mr. Massey and a second by Mr. Bryant. Is there any discussion? Mr. Harrison?
Massey,
Aye.
Miles,
Aye.
Worsham,
Aye.
Keith,
Aye.
Gentry,
Aye.
Bryant,
Aye.
Brendan.
Aye. Item number 5, authorize the filling of grant applications for the fire department. Mr. Harrison.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've done this for the last several years, and specifically, we want to apply for a Walmart grant, a FM Global grant, Firehouse Subs grant, and State Farm Insurance grant. And all these are for equipment and safety items and things of that nature that the fire department can use. They're all a no matching cost to the grant, and it's gonna give Chief Ayers the authorization to apply on behalf of the city for these grants for the fire department.
I move that we authorize the filing of these grants.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made by Ms. Miles and a second by Mr. Massey. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Massey.
Aye.
Miles.
Aye.
Worsham.
Aye.
Keith.
Aye.
Gentry.
Aye.
Bryant.
Aye.
Brindley.
Aye. Item number 6, authorize mayor and city recorder to enter into a contract with Lyle Cook Martin Architects for renovation of the facade of City Hall.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been working on this for quite some time, and y'all have already approved us to work with this company. As we're getting hopefully close to getting started, we found out that the architects had never sent us a contract to being reimbursed for their service. So they submitted us a copy of their statement. We looked over it. They're gonna charge a flat 8%, which is typical for projects of this nature. So I would recommend that we enter this contract with the architects for the work they're doing on this building.
I move that we adopt this resolution.
Second.
We've got a motion made by Mr. Keith and a second by Ms. Miles. Is there any discussion?
Is there, money, have we already approved the money? Is it in?
Well, no. I think we put in last year's budget, or this year's budget, about $500,000. It looks like it's gonna run over that, but by the time we get really going on it, it'll probably be in next year's budget for the actual work on it.
Okay.
So I'll make sure that we've got a more up-to-date number at that time. Before, we were just guessing. So,
costs have gone up a little bit.
Well, yes. But I'll have that in next year's budget information.
Any other discussion? Mr. Harrison?
Massey,
Aye.
Miles,
Aye.
Worsham,
Aye.
Keith,
Aye.
Gentry,
Aye.
Bryant,
Aye.
Brindley.
Aye. Item number 7, is there any old business?
I want,
Go ahead, Jerry, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You know, we talked about Brindley Drive and Morgan Drive a little bit about that, and, per my discussion with John, I think it makes more sense for us to lower the speed limit. And I don't know what your all's preference is, I'm not sure what his, to either 20 or 25 on both streets. And I don't know if we talked about trying to double the fines if we catch them speeding over that. But you know, going up and down that street at 40 miles an hour, which is what a lot of folks do, it's too fast down that street. If we lower it to 20 or 25, they're gonna drive 30 or 35, according to Mr. Dickey. So what I'd like to do is for us to put up signs lowering the speed limit, you know, and if we can, put a sign on there that says speeding fines double, and see what kind of response we get from the people that wanted us to do something. I'd rather do that almost. I'm not sure we'd have to put up 3 speed bumps going down Brindley in particular, and I don't want to do that. What do y'all think? I just want to know. And one thing that I do want to say, John has gotten them patrolling our area more often, sitting down there. But as one of the officers here, Jake pointed out that it's hard. It's hard to set a car in a place where you can use your radar and catch them too. So I'm just throwing that out there. But I would like to see us lower the speed limit in response to the signatures that we got for doing something in that neighborhood. I'm just saying.
Is there a place where we could put a camera, perhaps, that we could catch a speeder? Is that possible? I mean,
It could,
is
but
it
just not to get
convenient?
long-winded on, and I guess the analogy behind all this, or, and looking at it, I mean, you got several things that you can do to do that, and I, for one, is strongly opposed to putting any kind of impediment in the roadway, because you're restricting everybody else, the majority of people that's actually driving the speed limit. Lowering the speed limit would be a good alternative, but it does 2 things. I mean, what it does, if you look at the chart that we sent out of the statistics of how that's all categorized on the speed, the times of day, the speeders and all that, the majority of everybody is already driving between that 25 and 35 mile an hour range anyway. So, and so if you lower the speed limit to make, say, 25, I don't know about increments of 5, that may be okay. But either 20 or 25 would be fine. Then you're not gonna put a burden on a lot of people that's already following the law. And what that does is, that keeps them from running, because my folks, we're not gonna start writing people for, you know, I don't get that, make it real public. Well, we give people a little leeway, give them benefit of the doubt. We don't just look for 2 or 3 mile an hour over the speed limit and write somebody. But lowering the speed limit would do that. As far as posting, I looked into the double, you know, the traffic fines being doubled. You see it in a lot of roadway constructions, that kind of thing. We by state law, we wouldn't be able to do that in a situation like that, as far as posting signs that the fines would be double. What we can do, and I ran it by Andy yesterday, you know, there's a state law it's called due care, and it's pretty broad. But it includes that if you're driving in a way that you're driving in, regardless of the speed limit or anything, if you're driving in an unsafe manner or whatever, there's a lot of moving parts there that you could charge with that. But what I would, and we can still do that, but we'd have to send that charge to Sessions Court, and then our speed, we won't keep everything in city court, where we sort of got a little more control over it, and it don't get backlogged and pushed back. So if we adopted that ordinance and codified it into a city ordinance, because we'd have to have our own city ordinance, and it would mirror that language, then we could have that additional charge, and we could use that to our benefit anywhere there's a high congested area. We wouldn't charge, do you care for somebody speeding on Mill Street per se, unless they was doing extremely well over the speed limit. But in a congested area where there's kids playing, where there's a lot of traffic, and a lot of people present, then they would have the discretion to charge both charges. And then that would, for you to actually get more than just your double fines, you'd have court cost as well as that. And so word would get out pretty quick that if we started doing that, not only in the Brindley Drive area, but any other high populated Jefferson Street, whatever it may be.
Exactly.
So we could do it that way, and I think if you look at that we sent out, that I think that would be the better alternative. One, it shows the folks that we're doing something, and we realize there's an issue there, there's a problem there, and we're trying to address it without being too intrusive on people, because you gotta keep in mind about them speed bumps. I'm a big believer in this. If we have a speed limit that says you can drive 20 or 30 miles per hour, but we put something in the roadway that prohibits you from doing what you're saying you can do, could cause us some issues down the road. And along with medical personnel, law enforcement, or whoever, speed bumps is just, and sometimes people figure out a way to get around them anyway.
Hey,
They'll
John?
just go to another street. Yes, sir.
Would it be possible to label that 20 or 25 mile an hour speed limit with one that said possible double fine?
Well, you could up to, you could increase fines or something. I guess we'd have to make sure
I'm just
that
saying you
we,
wouldn't be violating, you wouldn't be actually telling a lie.
yeah.
But, you know, it's possible for you to get double fine for going over, so would that slow people down?
I don't know as far as with the uniform traffic code and the signage, how they has to comply with state law. I don't know if there's something that we could do to put that in writing. We'll work on it. We'll figure out a way to do it. But if you decide to lower it, of course, we'd have to monitor that and post it for several days before we actually started enforcing that new speed limit. But if we had the signage there, but like I said, you'd have to probably do it over on West Morgan too, because even though there is a curve in that road, you can drive that just as fast as you can down Brindley Drive.
Have we actually caught anybody speeding on that?
Well, I don't know if y'all have or not. Like I said, really and truly, I mean, if you think about the times it's on there, they're sort of scattered. There's no real peak time as far as, catching somebody speeding, because the majority of the people are really abiding by the speed limit. If you look at one, I think there's one report there that I got over 1,100 people, and less than 50 of them are exceeding the speed limit, I think, if you look at that. So that's a small, very small percentage scattered out. But at the end of the day, that sort of, it keeps everything in perspective if you want to do something, because we have had a lot of complaints about the driving through there. And it would help us as far as enforcing it, lowering it, as to trying to catch somebody speeding or whatever, strategically being in a place to be able to do that.
Let me ask one question. This, of course, Brindley and Morgan are not isolated in having
Right.
speeders in neighborhoods. Could we drop the speed limit in residential areas across the city?
You sure can. I mean, you can.
And the only reason I ask is if we drop it on those two streets, we're right here again next month. The people across the road on Nichols or wherever are saying, well, they're speeding on my street too.
The only thing
If you do it, you need to do it in sections, because it'll take us a while to get all this.
Well, I know, that's a lot of signs, but it would be a uniform code across the city. If it's a residential area, the speed limit is automatically 25.
I really
That's
think, with mimicking what Jerry said about the signs there, I think the way to first to start this, I mean, that's a good idea and everything, and it's a very good idea, but that's gonna be a lot on our officers, and it's, I think if we were to do something like that, it would have to be in sections. I don't think you need to do that at one time. I think it's gonna overload. I'd love to see us put a couple of signs up and down Brindley and Morgan Street, and have it facing both ways. Because there's a lot of people coming back out of Sunnybrook, coming down, doing the same thing. But let's start, y'all have been patrolling it very well, because I've had a lot of citizens say something to me, and I personally have been out there and saw it. But I think we should look about, I agree about the 25 mile an hour. I think, I'd love everybody's input, but Jerry lives out there, he understands it out there, and I trust his judgment, but I would, 25 miles an hour, and let's put a couple of signs up that's visible, and still keep our presence right there. But I'd also look over, is that Gordon down,
Yeah.
I would, because they're gonna shift, I would just kind of watch that.
Well, to keep up, and
Gordon, there's enough stop signs
Exactly.
there.
It is.
and that's what you gotta keep in mind, and I'd rather us, you know, we keep in mind of maybe concentrating on, you know, keeping the speed down in neighborhoods, but I'd rather do it a little bite at a time, because here's the deal. In the majority of them, you, Terry Estates out there at Richland Homes, Green Acres, there's four-way stops there. Now, I understand, hey, we have people that'll run through them, but most of the time, they won't run through them at 30, they'll slow down to about 15, and that's good. If they're gonna run one, go slow. If you have a little wreck, you have a small one. So, I'm just saying, they do help, those stop signs help, and we've already got them strategically placed throughout the neighborhoods that'll pretty much take care of that issue, but if we'll just take these streets one at a time, concentrate on Brindley and Morgan, and do it that way, I think we'll be, I think that'll take care of what we're
What
going
about
to
if
do.
those signs that have the red lights on them, that highlight there's the stop signs is what I'm thinking.
We got
But
those,
can
they're
we do
traffic
the-
lights, are you talking, I
Yeah,
just kidding.
But I'm talking about, if we're going to be changing the speed limit, can we do one with the red lights around it to highlight the fact that it is to slow down and then when we
Well,
move
you talking
to
about the
another
one,
neighborhood.
you talking about the one down here
on
on
Brindley.
Flower that's got the solar lights, is that what she's talking about?
Yes, mhm.
No, that was one that, the solar guy out here that, up there, you know, used to be up town here, that Terry worked with him, and he done that. I don't know if that was sort of like as a test basis to see how that worked out, or,
There used to be a red flashing light.
Right,
at that
overhead.
intersection,
Yeah.
and when the electric system had the improvements, they requested we take it down. Board allowed them to take it down, and then we got so many complaints about
About
people
running.
running that stop sign. We asked the electric system to put it back. Well, long story short, they didn't want to put it back, so I got with A Solar, and they came up those stopping, flashing lights. It kind of,
Highlights it, and if we're going to seriously think about making this a universal neighborhood thing of 25 miles an hour through there, we could start here and have the lights around the speed limit, which highlights, calling to their attention that this is what it is, and then when we move to neighborhood, we could take those up, put them there, and put in just the regular, once they've established the things
John,
that.
all you need to do is take the sign you've already got,
I know.
that say the speed limit is 25 and you're doing this, and leave that up for a period of time, and that would draw attention to them that the speed
yeah,
limit.
keep in mind, here's my suggestion on that. Here's my suggestion on putting those lights out. There's two things, I don't get too long-winded here. But one of the things is, anytime, you know, just like this one down here, there is times, depending on how much that thing gets charged through the solar, that it's just lit. I don't want us to get into a situation where we have a wreck and we have to put on there, hey, was there a traffic, was the sign functioning properly or not? I don't want to have to put that we had a flashing light and it wasn't working anymore. And I don't want to get to where we got part of them somewhere and others say, well, if we'd had one over here, we wouldn't have had this wreck. We can justify where this one is down here because we took down that caution light, and we could explain that better than trying to explain why we got them everywhere but over here on this street. See what I'm saying? Because we got stop signs, and you're talking about expense-wise, you're getting, and we're depending on the sun to keep them charged up and working, functioning all the time. And we can't make the sun charge them. We can fix electrical shortage, but we can't make the sun shine if it needs to. So all I'm saying is, if we'll address this, let us concentrate on Brindley and Morgan and get that elephant taken care of, then we can move on to others. I don't want to get us so overwhelmed that I got officers having to be concentrate all over the place, and we try to do that now, be around, but concentrate on the problem areas. Once we get that under control, we'll move to something else.
John, let me ask you one question. To enforce this due care law, do we need to adopt that in any form? Andy,
Yes.
you're saying yes?
Yeah,
Do
it
we
would
need-
take a new ordinance.
It would take a new ordinance to adopt.
It'll just mirror that
It's a-
language,
it's
it'll
a-
just give us
It's a
it's
state
codified.
law already, but we would need to adopt it as a city ordinance.
Well, you can, or you can,
We can enforce it, but we wouldn't be enforcing it in general
Sessions.
sessions court. If we want to enforce it in city court,
We just make
we
it a
need
city
to adopt it
ordinance.
as an ordinance.
that's all we need to, we get
And
a
we-
code that we
and
can.
and if you're gonna do that, we want it in city court, so we'll get the revenue rather than the state.
There you go.
Right. Well, that's
So are
why.
we
Yeah,
good with
that,
the
and we got
20
more control
Are
of
we
that.
good with 25 miles an hour?
I am.
Yeah.
Now,
Let's
I-
try that and see
Yeah.
how that works.
Hey, let me ask you, John, can the citizens put up their own sign that says neighborhood watch also for speeders?
No, I don't know about what neighborhood watch for speeders.
Neighborhood watch also for speeders.
I don't believe you can do that.
I don't get
How
people
fast you're
too
going.
distracted. You know, the more signs you got, if they gotta read, get them distracted, I'd rather just do it that way. And I wouldn't wanna put up a neighborhood watch if you don't have one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna stand out there with a hairdryer.
Hey,
It'll work, it'll work.
Any other, thank you,
Just
John.
joking.
Any other, old business?
Yeah, I got one thing, and I just wanna go back and reiterate, you know, cause I know you mentioned wait until, all the numbers is out about the budget and what we talked about, you know, as far as the employees, that raise and the bonus and everything. I just wanna say this, Social Security, they gave because of inflation, they gave the biggest raise they ever gave, 8.7%. And they did that because of inflation across the nation. And when we do go looking at this, keep in mind that, say, a 5% raise for somebody who's making, so let's just say, $18 an hour is not the same as a 5% raise for someone who's making $21 an hour of whatever the minimum is. That's why I would just want to really take a look at that bonus like we did last year. That way that you take a $2,000 bonus, that's even for everybody across the board. That everybody gonna get that, not one getting 5%, and that 5%, like I said, is elevated, and the other man 5% is much lower than the ones who making more per hour.
I think we're with you, as far as, how we feel about our employees, but I think we need to look at this.
Oh, yeah,
budget
yeah.
With the 5% before we do.
Do anything, yeah, I just wanted to keep that in mind, that Social Security did look at it, and they decided to give the highest ever in the nation, 8.7%. It was $100 for some people, that particular raise.
You're talking about now the 2,000 in addition to the 5%.
In
not
addition to the
replacing
5%.
Okay.
Yeah, that way that $2,000 would be fair to everybody, not one getting more than the other one. But you do a 5% raise, it's
Yeah,
gonna,
some will get more than that.
yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, we definitely, when we get this budget, we want to take care of our employees,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Moving along, do we have anything else under old business? New business, I've got one thing. Mr. Bryant brought up last meeting about a cleanup day. We were talking about cleaning, and we had very good participation so far, and it's been going good. I would love to see us, Scott, and we try to rely on y'all I would love for us to come up with a date here in the next 30 days that we could, say it probably needs to be a Saturday, but let's come up with a date and let's get a lot of people involved in this. Let's a lot of our nonprofits that we give to and help. They're always asking, can they help? Let's talk to them if they want to participate in this. Let's reach out to our civic clubs that they're always looking for work. Especially, it doesn't cost anybody anything. They're always looking to work to help, and let's reach out to them. Businesses, I've talked to several businesses already that they said they would be on board and would, I think, basically get their employees to come out, and I'm sure they'd compensate them or something, but, and then a lot of just private citizens. I would love to see this turn into a big thing here. We would need it would need every one of us to be involved. And we have different sections, different, just kind of have a map of where we're going to go. But let's start from the heart of it, from the square and go out. But there's ways that we can partner with. They're doing the I think the Cellular Wash is having a Waste is having like a TV and computer free day where you can do. Let's coordinate. It might need to be 45 days out, but let's coordinate this how we can make this be successful. Because
I'd like for y'all to think also maybe coming up with different categories, like if there's a civic club category, and then offer a
Yeah.
cash prize that that go to the civic club for their charitable things. But if the business wanna do, we could also issue that, but whatever that money would go to the local nonprofit of their choice, in their name. So maybe that would get some competition.
Yeah, I agree, and that's kind of where I was headed with this. And get the chamber involved in this, and let's have something like that. If there was I'm trying to make it where it's everybody involved with this. It's not just one person or one business, whatever. I want to get everybody involved.
Yeah, I personally I'm concerned that we always have to reward someone to do something that's necessary. This is something that affects us all, and it would seem to me if we're going to do something, perhaps we could give a recognition, a verbal, outward recognition to the company who sends the most people and participates, to the class from Richland High School who sends the most students. We're gonna recognize that class, and they're gonna get an attaboy, not a pizza or something else. This is something that we are all doing because we live here and because we want it to be better.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my own personal
Yeah.
bias.
I agree, but first of all, let's focus on, we gotta reward them some way. If it's an attaboy, if it's a donation, we'll get to that when it gets there. Right now, let's focus on picking the trash up, and we gotta find that day that we do that. I'd ask everybody to look at your calendars, and hey, Christie, I'll get with you or something. Maybe we'll shoot out a couple of different dates that you all say that works for you or not, because if we're going to be trying to get the community civic clubs and everybody involved, we've got to make sure that we're on board as well. So, and it might be there might be certain streets that you all might want to do. If you live on a certain street, nobody's going to know your neighborhood better, Mr. Worstrom or Mrs. Miles on yours, and vice versa. So let's all try to coordinate that the best way we can. It's going to take some planning, but let's turn it into a very positive thing for the community.
We'll need to get some signs and let people know that we're down there, because speeders, and for example, Patrick across the street over there, he used to walk on my street. I got a busy street, Jefferson, and he used to walk. He would say he ain't come over anymore.
I thought we'd get all the officers that day to see if we can get them to help us. He ain't even paying attention, but yeah, we'll plan that.
Well, and I know that, through the county, solid waste, they've got jackets and safety thing for people that do pick up trash, so we'll work that with the county solid waste office.
Mayor Brindley mentioned this, but I just pulled it up. The free TV and electronic recycling is at all the convenience centers for the whole month of April. So that, they're making that available for the whole month of April, and that's from the solid waste department. So if we could find a Saturday morning in April.
I think this would be a good thing. If we're gonna,
And I think in the fall of the year, the incoming freshmen at UT Southern, they do pretty good about cleaning up along the creeks and things, so.
again, I think it's a great thing. If we're gonna sell our city, we gotta give them something to buy. And we're trying to recruit people to come here, we want it to look nice. And so we'll send out those dates and what best fits you all. Let's make sure we don't double it on if it's an event going on that day or anything. Let's try to make sure we don't cross with anything else. Is there any other new business? If there's no other new business come forward today, we'll stand as adjourned.